This is Rudy Giuliani, and this is America's Mayor live from the Democratic dictatorship of New York City, or four boroughs of New York City. Please exclude Staten Island, otherwise known as Richmond County, because they are still a borough in which they have the normal constitutional rights of most Americans. In New York, there's a different constitution, the normal one that applies if you're a Democrat, crook or not, and then a different one if you're Republican. Rather simple. You just cross out all of the guarantees in the Bill of Rights for the Republicans, like no right to counsel. You can invade their lawyers' offices. You can spy on their lawyers to find out what their communications were. You can raid without probable cause, or ever even show the affidavit to the person whose rights were violated. You can charge people with crimes that only exist in the minds of corrupt prosecutors who've already been outlined and described as corrupt prosecutors who are being used to do the same dastardly deeds they did in the past. I'm talking about Smith, who indicted the governor of Virginia when he had presidential ambitions, convicted him, and then a year and a half, 2 years later, it was reversed by the Supreme Court with a very nasty opinion about how dishonest Smith is and how he basically withheld all kinds of exculpatory evidence. Exculpatory evidence means evidence that he was innocent. Get it? What did he care if he got a conviction? What did he care if the conviction was upheld or not? He got him out of office. Think maybe that's what they're doing with Trump? Of course they are. Do you have any? Do you have any even? Do you have even a smidgen of belief that this has anything to do with prosecuting crimes? No, no. This is about trying to stop him from being president of the United States. That's what it's about. But we have a bigger news story tonight. The United States Senate, in fact, all of the Democrats in the United States Senate, unanimously, 51 of them, all agree that the alien invasion should continue unabated. Yeah, just keep it going. In voting for Mayorkas, they gave a resounding vote of approval to keeping the border wide open. The people hanging out in El Paso, ready to come in, are cheering. They'll be in, and figure that today's decision by Chuck Schumer and the lockstep distorted party of slavery will mean, okay, let's go minimum. In a good month, he lets in Biden lets in about 180,000 people that we question peremptorily. The Chinese, we ask them 4 questions. We don't ask many more of others. And then we parole most of them for 4 or 5 years into the United States. So that number, which we can calculate based on his best numbers in the last couple of months, that would get us to about 2 million that'll be coming in the next 10 months, because now they don't have to close the border. Mayorkas, just got let off the hook, right? He can continue to do what he's been doing from the beginning. He can tell you the border is under control. So if the border stays under control the way it's been under control, that means anywhere from 8 to 12 million people came in illegally. So you figure if he gets another 10 months, we could look at about another 2 million that come in illegally, where we at least write down their name and their answer to the 4 questions. Let's say Chin Li Yu from Sichuan. And then you get 2 more questions: name, place. Are you a communist? No. Oh, that's good. Have you ever committed any crimes? Never. Well, come on, Chin. We'll put you right next to a bunch of kids. You think I'm making it up? That's what happens. They don't know a damn thing about those people, except what they tell them. And they don't even ask them many questions. So that the usually expert Border Patrol people can use their instincts about who are criminals and who are not. I don't remember the movie Airport when Nolan, I think the actor was, the experienced Border Patrol agent who felt strange about the guy who went on the plane with the bomb. And he didn't raise it until after the plane had taken off, and then of course it turns out that he was the guy with the bomb. They really do. I mean, I've worked with law enforcement, as you know, for half my life, and they really do have instincts like that. But they're not. They can't exercise them here. You can have an instinct that the guy just came out of a nut house, but you just put him on a plane and send him. I don't know, send him to Adams. He's always the one that likes them the most and gives him. I mean, he used to greet him. He used to greet him at the bus stop. He was so happy to get all these criminals. Like he didn't have enough criminals in New York that his fellow Democrats were letting out on the street to the tune of about 7 or 8,000 now. Since they changed the laws in New York and made it excessively criminal friendly, more than any other state, the governors with the lead taken by Andrew Cuomo. Remember him, Andrew Cuomo, the guy who put the old people in the nursing homes. Of course, not because the nursing home operators were his biggest contributors. They wanted that little extra money they would get. That couldn't possibly be the reason in corrupt New York, right? Nah. Giuliani, will you stop being a conspiracy theorist? You always seem to think that these people are doing things for money. Must have gotten ruined by being such a good prosecutor. Well, in any event, since Cuomo changed those laws in 2019 with the help of Mr. Hasty, the Speaker of the House, who does not believe that punishment deters crime, even individual crime, like the guy who, if you take the guy who just beat somebody else and you put him in jail, as opposed to let him go free, and somebody gets beaten up, you would have deterred that crime if you put him in jail. Got it? Or maybe you would have deterred the murder of Detective Diller if you put that bum in jail. Well, in any event, 39 cop killers have been released in, let's see, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, in 5 years. We should just be lucky it isn't 100. I don't know if we have 100. By the time we get to the middle of Trump's term, we'll probably have them all out, all the cop killers. I mean, hopefully they're not going to kill more cops. A lot of them get jobs with Black Lives Matter advising them on how to kill cops. I mean, they're you know that, don't you? I mean, they a lot of the organization was formed on the advice of Black Panthers. I actually didn't know that the prosecutor who's trying to put me in jail for the rest of my life, that her father was a founder of Black Panthers. That's Fannie the Hoe, the one with the boyfriend and the one who took cash from her campaign, admitted it under oath, and nobody seems to care because she's a Democrat and we don't care if they commit crimes. So the Senate has not gone ahead with a trial for Mayorkas, which is the first time that's ever happened. I don't remember exactly how many cabinet members have been impeached. Impeachment happens by the House. It's like indictment. It's like an indictment. As you remember, Trump was impeached twice. He was tried twice. They didn't give him this break. But of course they did, because we have a two-tier system of justice. Also, I mean, involved in what Mayorkas did is the death of hundreds and hundreds, if not more, Americans. Had he not kept that door wide open and lied about it, a lot of those fentanyl people that are dead, well, it's like 4 times what they were under Trump. Just use the following as a calculation. Trump's last year, when we didn't have a creep liar like Mayorkas around, there were 400,000 who got stopped and were asked real questions, including some of them that were asked offensive questions that I helped to work on because they came from suspect nations. Remember, that was xenophobic, otherwise known as saving the lives of the American people. So now, under Mayorkas, who lies about the fact that the border is secure to the detriment of the American people, about 3.4 million people have come in. Most of them put on a bus or airplane and delivered to you. And you just flip a coin as to whether they're a murderer, a rapist, a Chinese spy, or otherwise illegal alien who isn't one of those things. What do you call them? You can't call them legal. They're violating the law because absolutely none of them have an asylum claim. 5%. 5%. If you just talk to them, they'll tell. If you just go talk to them, they'll tell you somebody told them to say it. Some of them don't even say it. They just write it down for them. Biden and Mayorkas have corrupted the Border Patrol into being an escort service for the illegal criminal aliens getting into the U.S. quickly. The Chinese were so upset that they were asked 40 questions that at the beginning of this year, Biden and Mayorkas got it down to 4. How ridiculous is that? 4 questions from a country that has the strongest motive in the world to send spies here. So that's okay. Mayorkas can violate the laws, make a mockery of the Constitution, and get people killed left and right. And he didn't even get a trial. Trump, they can lie about. They can say that he had a conversation with the president of Ukraine with a quid pro quo that doesn't contain a quid pro quo, and they can cover up the hard drive that proves his innocence, which you don't find out about for a year later. That's okay. So now the trial today, I was all ready to cover the trial, and Ted told me that in 2 days the judge is exhausted. He took a day off. No wonder he supports Biden. No wonder he gives him all that money, or his daughter raises millions for him, or his wife. I don't know if they have any other relatives in that family that are working for the Bidens. He might as well get, get one of Biden's relatives to be on the trial. Probably his relatives wouldn't be as bad because they really know what a creep and a horror Biden is. These people like adore Biden. I mean, this is a political trial. It's being done to prevent you from being president and not defeat Biden. And the guy on the bench spends his time, adoring Biden. How you can adore Biden is really hard. Oh my God, there's a picture of him right now. He looks like, I swear to God, I think they brought an undertaker in to make him up now.
Do you wear a mask today?
Did he wear a mask? That's old. That's one of the that's the former Israeli ambassador meeting with him where he actually looks like he's sleeping. Well, yesterday he fell asleep with the prime minister of Iraq. There he is, touching his eyes. Then this is the one where he read everything. That's what we did a little imitation of that. Hello, Ted. My name is Joe. I'm the president.
Thousands
Good
of
that they wrote that down
civilians,
because
women,
sometimes he
and
thinks he's a
children
senator.
and we encourage all the
Senate,
efforts
and
about
he thought
stopping the expansion
he thought
of the
Harris was
area
he
of
introduced
conflict,
her as President Harris a couple of times. So it's
which
good they write
claim
that
the
down.
lives of
But
thousands
it's
of
good.
civilians,
It's
women,
good.
and
We don't want to
children.
embarrass them.
And we encourage
Say to
all the
that
efforts
guy,
about stopping the
you see
civilians, women, and children. And we
that
encourage
Iraqi
all
guy
the
there?
efforts about stopping the expansion of
Successor
women and
of the
children.
guy that
And
corrupt
we
bum
encourage
sitting
all
there.
the
Looks like
efforts
he's picking
about
his
stopping
nose.
the expansion of women and children. And we
He
encourage
couldn't get a
all the
status of
efforts
forces
about
agreement
stopping the expansion of women and
with
children.
Iraq,
And we
which really
encourage
resulted in
all
a
the
couple thousand
efforts
people being
about
killed.
stopping the
Nobody knows that
children.
story. I can tell you
And we
sometime.
encourage all the efforts about stopping the
Now, I'm telling you, if even, I mean, if Obama had sent me to get the status of force, I'd have gotten it in about 2 hours. The guy's tie might have been messed up a little or something, but he sure as hell would have gone and given all the money we give him. As long as I had the permission, of course, I wouldn't get that from Obama because they like to give money to terrorists, but from Trump, I know it would be real simple. How much do we give you? Okay, that just ended. Don't make out the check this month. Oh, Biden was sending them cash. I tell you what, why don't you start a money laundering investigation of this son of a bitch and Obama? How about we do that? How about we do a money laundering investigation? How about a money laundering investigation when he gave money to the Ayatollah, the biggest terrorist in the world? How do you get away with that? Come on. The president of the United States gives cash to a guy who spends half his budget on killing Americans and Jews, and it's okay. It's okay. We just go. We just slide right over it. You know how much money the sleepy, demented one there has given to bare minimum to Iraq since he came in, since Trump had him on the balls of their ass. Lowest amount is $100 billion. That's all the sanctions that he didn't enforce. Now, you don't even know all the sanctions he didn't enforce. I'm going to tell you why. When Trump came into office, all of a sudden, within 2 months, Iran was pretty much broke. And the protests started, and I used to get, from MEK, I used to get weekly reports of what was going on there. And it started within 2 months. Because actually, all Trump had to do is enforce the sanctions that for years Obama pretended to be enforcing and didn't. Then when he added his own, he crushed them. And, they were crying to Kerry. Kerry was over there undercutting us, violating the law left and right by basically telling them, don't worry, we'll get Trump out. And then we'll start to get you money so you can continue killing innocent people. Because that's what they do for a living. So the Trump trial is off now. We've got 7 jurors. We have no idea if they're Republicans or Democrats, which I think is outrageous. I don't know how the hell you make any determination about their ability to be fair if you don't know this is a political trial in every sense of the word. You got to know their political affiliations, and you know that. I mean, the people that, particularly with Trump, the people that don't like Trump hate him, and the people who like Trump love him. Like the people apparently in Washington Heights. Boy, that must have shocked the living daylights out of the Democrat crooks in New York. They didn't even have to go up there and give them money. Or actually, they don't give them money. They get social programs for Washington Heights and they steal the money. That's basically the history of why those neighborhoods under Democrats remain with no movement while the Democrats are in office getting hundreds of billions for the inner city, because it never gets to the inner city. It gets to the inner Democrat crooked politician or his fundraiser or his mother or his uncle or his, you name it, my friend. I learned that somewhere around 1970.
Absolutely perfectly out of place. He should not be allowed to do it. He's conflicted like nobody's ever
The
been
Model Cities
conflicted.
Administration.
This is a very exciting
One of the
time for
great
me because
society
the
programs.
bodegas, the
I mean, among the
association invited me,
the other reasons
and
that
I
Lyndon
respect
Johnson
them
was
and
a
they respect
disaster of
me.
a president
They
is
want law and order.
that the
They have a
Great
lot of
Society
crime, tremendous
program
crime, where their
went pretty much
stores
the
are
place
being
where all
robbed.
money
And as you
having
know,
to do
we're
with
going
Lyndon
to give
Johnson
New
went
York
into
a
the
very good
politician's
shot for the
pocket.
presidency. We think we
I
should
mean,
be
Lyndon
able
used to
do
give
it.
out cash on the
A
floor
lot
of the
of things
Senate.
have
Look,
changed.
this
Lee
has been a
Zeldin did
corrupt
beautiful
political
job. He ran,
party
he lost by
forever.
a little bit.
The Republicans
And,
are corrupt
New
too,
York's a lot
but
different.
Democrats,
And we'll work with the
you
mayor,
know when
and we'll work
Biden
with
says
the
we're
governor, and
systemically
we'll bring in a
racist,
lot
we're
of
not.
federal money, but we
They're systemically corrupt. Republicans are opportunistically corrupt. We got a Republican here, a Republican there, but the basis of the party was not inner city corruption. This party, the Democrat Party, was built on slavery and inner city corruption, which is why it's a completely amoral party, where you get people that don't seem to have even any regret about eliminating the lives of babies or fetuses or embryos or whatever else you want to call them. In fact, when they pass a bill like they did it under Cuomo to murder 9, 8, and 7-month babies, they wildly cheer. Geez, how about a little regret? How about a little regret? You know, they don't want any regret because they want any guilt. I know this. I know this con job for a long time. They don't want any regret because they don't want any guilt. It has to be all perfectly all right to eliminate a fetus, perfectly all right to eliminate an embryo, and perfectly all right to crush the skull of a little baby in the womb. Or if you're the governor of Virginia, maybe a couple hours after it comes out of the womb, if you're not happy about it. And who knows, it could get extended. Now, Bill Maher, right? Bill Maher, who used to say some of the craziest things in the world, right? Right. He's been coming around, hasn't he? I guess once you're crazy, you're always crazy. I want you to listen to this. This could be one of the sickest things ever said on American television. Could be one of the sickest things ever said on American television. Nobody cares. You want me to take a short break and then you'll have it all ready and we'll listen to the sickest thing ever said on American television? That should get him back. Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. Welcome back. While you were gone, I had my balance of nature. It's veggies. It's already taken effect. Notice how lethargic I was at the first part of the show.
Balance of Nature.
You're going to see me get excited.
.com, promo code Rudy, 35% off. 35% off, Mayor.
Come on, help us.
Help us help you.
Help us help me as well as them and
Yes.
help you, and everybody
That's right.
gets helped here.
That's right. Promo code
Stingy.
Rudy.
The damn thing, try it.
It's good for you.
It's going to help you. We only give you things that like T2T.org. It's gonna, T2T.org is gonna help you. Gonna make you not feel guilty that you're not doing enough for our soldiers and our police, because you're not. None of us are.
Speaking of T2T, Mayor, Frank paid off Officer Detective Diller's mortgage immediately.
I know, and he also did the ones up in Syracuse.
What a guy! Let me tell you
He's a
something.
guy. The guy's a saint. I mean,
Saint.
every time I say it, he gets all funny but it's true. I mean, he's a modern day saint.
He really is. I mean, that guy's something.
So yesterday, Trump went up to the I call it the Alba Delicatessen. It's actually the Santa grocery store. Is that it? Grocery store, convenience store.
It's a
On 100
bodega, but people outside New York.
It's sort of like a gross. It's like a food store and accessories and stuff like that. A lot of Spanish food. Santa convenience store. This is the guy, Alba, who was viciously attacked, killed the attacker in self-defense, and Trump's persecutor, Bragg, put him in jail for first-degree murder, put him in a horrible prison, right? Horrible prison, Mike. Put him in an innocent man in a horrible prison for a couple of days, which is okay. That's what, I mean, he was only in for 4 or 5 days, unlike the J6 people, who they put in there to the point where they produce suicides and people who are having depression. I mean, what they're doing to the J6 people is cruel and unusual punishment on steroids with an American public that seems not to care because they've been brainwashed.
So, Mayor, actually, where they put this gentleman in Rikers, it's called EMTC.
Who?
The guy who was the Alba. Yeah.
The guy who turned out to be, had to let him go because it was self-defense.
Right. The point I'm trying to make is they put him in the intake jail. It's called EMTC. This is where every male goes: murderers, gang members, rapists. So they put
bad ones.
They put him with
if they arrest somebody for taxes, he doesn't go.
No. This is like state. This is state crime. So this is where you get arrested by the state. So he's with all these guys in a giant pen who are murderers, actual murderers, and killers. And this poor guy's innocent.
He just almost got killed.
Can you imagine what he's thinking?
You know what he did? He ran to the Dominican Republic saying, "I'm safer in the Dominican Republic."
It's so crazy.
Would he be safe now though? In Venezuela.
Yes.
Venezuela has got Venezuela thinks they have Giuliani. They have such a big reduction in crime.
Well, because they're all here.
But I couldn't do what they did. I mean, if they let me do that, it would have been great. If I could have just taken all my criminals and sent them to France, right? Oh, I'll take all your criminals. Great. I could have gotten crime down even more. Instead of 70% decline in homicide or 68, could have done 99.
Mayor, we have that clip of Bill Maher you wanted to play for the audience.
I want to play this clip because I want to know if I'm overreacting. I want you guys to look at it, but I don't think, with all the things that we've heard and all the things that we've seen and all things going on, I don't think I've ever heard anything quite like this before.
Respect the absolutist position. I really can. I scold the left on when they say, "Oh, you know what? They just hate women. People who aren't pro-life, pro-choice. They don't hate women. They just made that up. They think it's murder, and it kind of is. I'm just okay with that. I am. I mean, there's 8 billion people in the world. I'm sorry, we won't miss you. That's my position on that. What?
That's quite harsh, Bill. Yeah, exactly. I'm not
Is
sure
that not your position if you're pro-choice? Not if you believe it's murder.
They were laughing. They were laughing.
They were, but I will say it wasn't like a. I did notice it was kind of even that audience. A lot of people were like, "Whoa!" But you're right. There was some laughter, but it's not the usual. I will say it was
play it again.
more.
I don't know how you keep this guy.
Yeah, it was.
I'm a proponent of the First Amendment. He has every right to say it. We have every right to think there's something really wrong with him. There's some.
Respect the absolutist position. I really can. I scold the left on when they say, "Oh, you know what? They just hate women. People who aren't pro-life, pro-choice. They don't hate women. They just made that up. They think it's murder, and it kind of is. I'm just okay with that. I am. I mean, there's 8 billion people in the world. I'm sorry, we won't miss you. That's my position on what.
It's quite harsh, Bill. Yeah, exactly. I'm not
Is
sure
that not your position if you're pro-choice? None of you believe it's murder. You know, that's why I don't.
Thinks that's funny.
It was quiet.
I'd have gotten up and walked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody defend murder.
Why?
I've never heard anyone defend murder of innocent people, of innocent life. We're not talking about murder of Nazis. We're not talking about murder of the Hamas. We're talking about murder of innocent. He acknowledges it's like murder. He believes that.
Oh, babies.
Well, in some cases, when you get to 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, they are babies. They would exist outside the womb. In most states, is a double homicide if you kill the mother.
And that's funny.
It's funny. It's funny to take life. I don't know. Would it go so far as a couple of weeks after you have the kid and you don't like it anymore? Would he be okay with that too? I mean, there are 8 billion people in the world, or whatever they said. Well, be a good chance to get. Be good if you gave him like a 2-year probation. Give these babies a 2-year probation period, and then if there are too many people, he and Gates could figure out we'll kill 20, 30 million of them. I mean, sure get along with Xi Jinping real well.
Well, don't we have that law here in New York City and New York where you can leave the baby at a police station, a police precinct, fire house without no questions asked? Don't we have that law now?
I don't know if it's a law
Or not a law,
Sort of
it's
a
practice now.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
There's sick people.
Right. Instead of throwing it in like a trash can, you can just leave it at a safe. It's called the safe haven. That's what it's
only
called.
do that because we have a mentally ill population.
Right.
Is he mentally ill? This guy.
Right. I would say so. Yeah.
You don't think that was a joke? I mean, that would be a sick joke, but was he being overly sarcastic in order to? I just don't. I don't understand how I mean, I've gone back and forth on him at different times, but I've never thought of him as a cruel.
But then again, he says really conservative things at times.
It doesn't matter, conservative.
But it's weird.
If he were
he's weird.
If he were a complete conservative and said that, I'd say, take him out and let's examine his brain.
And he almost said that now when he said it kind of is. Like he's agreeing with the.
Well, I think I know what he means by that. So by the time the child is able to live outside the mother's womb, there's probably no doubt that it's killing. The question is, before that, what is it? So you'd have to say, even if you don't agree with the strict Catholics and Jews, that it's at least from the time it starts, it's potential life, right? It's something different than just that. It's just that. It's two cells have come together, and if everything works out, that's going to be a human being. So now, what are we doing? We're eliminating the potential life. Now, way back under common law, I don't know what it was under Roman law, but under common law, there were different penalties for the various times that you did an abortion. So that, for example, until the child was what they would consider to be like a child, they call it, quickened in the womb. You can read Thomas Aquinas and find this, although some parts of the Catholic Church have taken this out of Thomas Aquinas's writings because they can do their own censorship. Thomas Aquinas actually believed that life began when the fetus attached to the womb. And, Blackman cites that in his opinion. So, and Thomas Aquinas actually did write it. Because when I went to school, they kept it there. Recently, it's very hard to find those chapters. I have my old book. I have it in Palm Beach. When we go there, I'll show it to you. So there is sort of a sliding for some people. It's an absolutist position. From the moment of insemination, it's life. Eliminating it is murder. Under the law in Christian countries, and England was a Christian country, very Christian, it wasn't that easy. It wasn't that absolutist. It was, if you were to get an abortion in the first couple of months, you might either not go to jail or you'd go to jail for a very short period of time. And I'm not even sure the doctor would be punished. As the months went along, it started to become very serious. And by the time you got near the end, it became like murder. So that's been our law for, 800 years. They treat the early stage as a crime, might even treat it as a misdemeanor. And then at the later stage, it becomes a felony. Well, it's logical under one analysis of it, right? I mean, one analysis of it is that, another analysis is that when it can exist outside the womb, it becomes its own individual, as opposed to a completely dependent individual. Dependent physiologically. Now, like a puppy, a little baby is dependent for a long time. Who knows how long, right? 2 months, 3 months, a year, 2 years. You leave it alone for too long, it won't be able to take care of itself. But that's a different kind of dependence. It's not dependent on your body. It's not part of your body. But okay, we're going too far and getting too philosophical about it. The thing that's astounding is he's okay with killing. And because there are too many people in the world. Well, that was a Nazi position, that there are too many people in the world. It's a Nazi position. It's a dramatic Chinese communist position. Remember when they used to kill little girl babies? I think it's a form of Marxism. It's Marx very, very much is into satanic. The whole theory of Satan is that he thought he should be God. Satan thinks we should be God because God subjects us to something better than us and makes us servants, and we're better than God. And we can play God. And boy, that's really dangerous. You can play God, then you can murder. That's what he's saying. Well, the Supreme Court in the argument yesterday of the Fisher case. Now, Fisher is a gentleman who was in the Capitol, was it for 10 minutes? I think it was a very short period of time. And he was convicted. And he was also convicted under the obstruction statute, which lays on you a 20-year penalty. Now, he didn't hurt anybody. He may have gotten into an altercation with a police officer, I'm not sure, but no damage done. And they gave him an extra indictment so they could, and all of this obstruction indictment was in order to get a 20-year penalty on these people who were basically, even when they did something wrong, unlike the Black Lives Matter or Antifa people, they didn't burn anything down. Arguably, they did some physical harm to some of the cops. I'm going to say, as we get into it more and more, arguably. The real serious damage was done to them, 4 of them dead. 1 clearly murdered, who they're covering up. Her name is here, Ashley Babbitt, going to stay here until the person who did it is brought to justice. You don't get to murder. That's why the statute of limitation never runs on murder. Never, ever. Remember that. You watch the Sullivan tape again, and you tell me that wasn't planned. And I'll tell you it was, and I can prove it. But in any event, this statute, the argument now is, ain't got nothing to do with interfering with a congressional proceeding. Statute was passed as part of Dodd-Frank to remedy financial fraud. And the title of the section is tampering with a witness, victim, or an informant. I didn't do any of that, did they? it all relates to financial records. It doesn't say anything about a congressional proceeding. It doesn't say anything about a congressional proceeding or a vote on electors. Here's the statute, and it's very, very short. It's subsection C of 18 U.S.C. 1512C. Whoever, and the first part of it is, whoever corruptly alters, destroys, mutilates, or conceals a record, document, or other objects, or attempts to do so, with the intent to impair the object's integrity or ability for use in an official proceeding. Or, and this is what they call the catch-all phrase, that liberal justices who are dying to, persecute these people. I think Kagan points out, well, this is the catch-all provision. 2, otherwise obstructs, influences, or impedes any official proceeding or attempts to do so shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 20 years or both. So here's the argument. When they said otherwise obstructs any official proceeding, they meant any, including hearing of Congress, including a vote on the electors, including any. The judge who originally ruled that this statute didn't apply had the more sensible interpretation, which is when you take a phrase like otherwise and you create this big ambiguity. The ambiguity, since it's a criminal statute, because criminal statutes, if they're ambiguous or unconstitutional, it has to get interpreted in the light of the purpose of the statute. Otherwise doesn't mean otherwise 2,000 statutes. It means otherwise something like this, meaning financial manipulation, not political manipulation. Otherwise, they'd have passed a different statute. And maybe they wouldn't have put 20 years in. So the justices, 4 justices, asked questions, creating the sense and the feeling that that's what they believe. And one of them even said, I think, Roberts, you mean 20 years? Like if somebody interrupts a House proceeding, they go to jail for 20 years? And the solicitor gave the ridiculous answer, which was a question of intent. Okay, if the person interrupts a House proceeding with the intent to interrupt it, they go to jail for 20 years. That wasn't intended here. It doesn't say anything about a House proceeding. It doesn't say anything about a Senate proceeding. It does say otherwise, but when you say otherwise, you're not encompassing, the 3,000 or 4,000 entries in 18 United States Code. You're talking about otherwise in the context of the purpose of this, which is financial fraud. So the district judge in this case ruled in favor of Mr. Fisher and dismissed it for that reason, on the grounds that this thing is being interpreted too broadly, when the rule in America and England is you construe a criminal statute narrowly, because it has the effect of taking your liberty from you, which we used to be sensitive about. We're no longer sensitive about taking the liberty of a former Republican president or anyone who might be associated with him, including me. They want to put me in jail to the end of my life, or Mr. Fisher, or all those poor people on January 6th, some of whom are still in jail, never having been tried, and a few of whom have committed suicide along the way, because they've driven this to an insane frenzy. I mean, all you got to do is look at the statements like worse than 9/11, worse than Pearl Harbor, worse than the Civil War. You know what it's worse than? Your crazy brain. That's what it's worse than. What you did here is unforgivable. Hopefully, there are 5 votes. Looks like there are 4 from the questioning, if you can tell from the questioning, because the questioning from Roberts and Thomas and Alito, and particularly Gorsuch, was very, very critical. The opinion written originally by the district judge was very powerful. And very fortunate to get a district judge in the District of Columbia that would agree with this. Imagine that guy has nobody to go to lunch with. And the appellate court split 2-1. 2 saying, yeah, fry him, and 1 saying, no, let's have a sensible interpretation. So it's going to depend on Amy Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh, because I don't know if they really indicated anything during of course, the liberals indicated, you don't give a shit. Otherwise anything we want it to be. Well, after all, it's a Trump case. Now, if this were a Democrat, we would have to try something like, did Baldwin pull the trigger or did it go off by itself? See, because I think what would happen is if Baldwin were to be acquitted on the grounds that the gun went off by itself, I would ask that the gun be in prison.
Mayor, as a legally registered gun owner, you actually have to use your finger to pull the trigger.
Oh, stop it!
Stop it! I'm just letting you know.
You must be some kind of a conservative insurrectionist.
You're right.
Terrorist.
You're right.
I bet you're on the list.
I'm definitely on the list. And now I am, because I just said that.
I'm on the list because I go to Latin masses.
Oh.
I even have a couple of Latin mass books right here, and they can see it. They've been photographing it.
They're going to make you burn them.
The FBI goes right in, and I got it like one of the old Latin masses, like an old one. Ooh. Introibo ad altare Dei. That means something terrible. It means we will enter the altar of God. And then the next line, Introibo ad altare Dei qui latificat juventutem meum. God, the joy since my youth. Isn't that beautiful?
Right.
No, Hamas, okay. Death to Americans, death to Israel, life to Hamas, and kill Giuliani.
Actually, to even add to Baldwin's thing, Mayor, I even think they have video of him pointing it at the camera like an idiot.
Yeah, and this woman,
this
woman, the girl who didn't examine the gun correctly, they put her in jail for 18 months. I mean, she certainly didn't pull the trigger. Maybe she bought, you know what she did? She probably went like this.
I think Baldwin walks because he's a Democrat.
That's the only reason we're having any of this discussion.
That's right.
If he were a Trump supporter,
death penalty.
Yeah, Is there a Democratic governor there? Where is it? In New Mexico?
Arizona, I think.
Yeah, there's a Democratic governor there. Oh yeah, a really bad one. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah, really bad.
I looked last night. The penalty for manslaughter there is the first offense is up to 10 years. I doubt he gets it. I doubt he gets 1 day.
He might not get convicted.
No, it's mistrial.
At least he's getting tried. Teddy Kennedy never even got tried.
That's true.
You think it all started with Teddy Kennedy?
Yeah.
What the Democrats do? You know, I was asking the question a while back, can Democrats get away with murder? And that's what reminded me of Teddy Kennedy. Remember we were talking about, can Democrats get away with murder? Because it's the one thing. Well, he got away with murder.
You're talking about this last night.
Negligent homicide.
You're talking about this last night. You were telling them last night about it. Yeah.
So if the Supreme Court were to knock out that 18 U.S.C. 1512C, there goes about 300 of these cases, and the big ones. And but they'll be in several categories. There'll be people who have already served their sentence under an illegal interpretation of the statute. In other words, they committed no crime. But they would. Who would they? How do you get Sue Shmoo? How do you get your life back? This is what they want to do to Trump. I mean, this is exactly what they want to do to Trump. This is why the judge is committing reversible error after reversible error after reversible error. The stuff that he's doing would require, I think, even a prejudiced Democratic court to have to reverse the case. Some of the stuff he's doing is like wacky. but they just want to get a conviction. And then once the election's over, what do they care? Particularly if they can defeat them, right? They can get that conviction and try to drive it so that but this case is playing out so poorly that we're actually a little beyond 50-50 in the number of people that would pay any attention to it. Because actually, if you just need a modicum of concentration on it, you start to realize they're a completely jerky case. That had to be constructed. She and he theoretically, through Cohen, if you believe the state, right, made a deal years ago beyond the statute of limitations so that she would get money and he wouldn't get embarrassed. The deal gets made all the time. Then it gets entered into the books of the company as I guess, as a payment of legal fees. Now, this is exactly what Hillary Clinton did with the Steele dossier. She paid for the Steele dossier, which after all was a campaign expense, through legal fees. She paid it in order to obtain a fraudulent set of charges that she could use to defeat her opponent. But she denominated it as legal fees. So she misrepresented. Usually it's the accountant who has to take the responsibility for that, because it's hard to know. It's hard to know what the principal instructed you to do, or whether the principal even knows about the difference between does it have to be denominated in a certain way. So as a result of it, it's a misdemeanor. And it's beyond the statute of limitations. If that's all you had, nothing. So now they're saying, but it was in pursuance of an illegal campaign contribution, or three other things. They haven't yet decided what the felony is. For the life of me, I can't figure out how you can go forward with this case without telling the guy what the hell he did. But that's another problem. But none of it matters, because if they can get guilty, they'll say, oh, he's a criminal. Now, the question is, have they stunk this case up so much that when they say it, people are going to actually sympathize with him for having been framed? I think maybe it's starting to go in that direction, because this judge, as they often do, is going overboard. Like it was idiotic for him not to let him go to the Supreme Court argument on this statute. Idiotic. He could take the next day off. This whole life is involved in the interpretation of that statute, because Trump has been indicted under that statute. I think it's the only felony that they have in the federal case. They won't let him go to the argument. He won't even let him voluntarily absent himself from jury selection, which every defendant, I actually don't understand that the judge has the power to require you to sit there if you voluntarily want to absent yourself. I don't think a judge has that power over you. People voluntarily absented themselves in cases that I had. And not only that, any prosecutor who was really interested in the crime and not screwing up your presidential campaign would be perfectly happy if you weren't there. In fact, I like it. Tell the jury, this guy doesn't even care. What an arrogant guy. He doesn't care. But the prosecutor, no, he has to be here. He has to be here, even for the jury selection. Which I think is a giveaway that this is completely political. Yeah, but it's completely intended to screw up his presidential campaign, not to necessarily convict him and hold that conviction. Because when I tried a case or train my people to try a case, a prosecutor tries a case with two things in mind. Defense lawyer tries it with one, maybe two. The prosecutor wants to get a conviction. He wants to get it in such a way that it's upheld on appeal. So unless you're a dopey prosecutor, even if you're a mean one or dishonorable, you don't want to try the case and get it reversed by putting something stupid on the record, right? So you always think you always are, as a prosecutor, thinking defensively. And you are probably reducing the amount of evidence you put in or things you're going to do, because you say, yeah, I could do that, but I don't know if I do that, maybe I could get a reversal, and it's going to cost the government another $1 million to do this, or 500,000, or whatever the hell. The defense lawyer is looking for two things: the jury to acquit, which is the unanimous decision of the jury, or in almost every case, a hung jury is a victory for the defense, because of half the hung juries never get tried again. And this one would be ridiculous to try again because there's something wrong with it to start with. And if the jury told you that, which is what they did in the Edwards case when they tried to frame Edwards this way, in Edwards' case, they actually acquitted him on some of the counts where he paid his girlfriend. And then they hung on the others. And then the United States government didn't go forward with it, which is why the United States government now takes the view this is not a crime. Now, how Bragg becomes the United States government, and now he and whatever the hell the judge's name is, thinks it's a crime. I don't know where they become federal prosecutors, or he becomes a federal. He's not even a state Supreme Court justice. This guy, he's like a flunky. Sorry, he's a civil court judge. He's not a flunky. Appointed, not elected. If had he been elected, he wouldn't have been elected anyway because he had no opponent. You realize how corrupt the system is? Wow. So the attorney general, who possibly is more crooked than Biden, has announced that Biden is perfectly fine, that Mr. Hur basically saying that he can't be prosecuted because he's a senile old man, which is what he tried to say, but he did try to say it in euphemistic language. I'll grant him that. That doesn't really mean anything, and that he knows that he's perfectly okay because he talks to him and he's just fine. I don't know. Did he ever talk to him about the time that the president saw Franklin Roosevelt on television reading the comics 3 years after Franklin Roosevelt was dead? Or he gave his uncle a medal?
Well, I got a new one for you, Mayor.
5 years after his uncle died, and 7 years after his father, who was president, died, and his uncle never got such a medal.
I got a new Biden gaffe for you, Mayor.
Which is,
you ready for this one?
What, he thinks he's George Washington?
No. Biden suggests uncle was eaten by cannibals in New Guinea, but military says his World War II plane was lost at sea.
The same uncle that he gave the Purple Heart to after when he was vice president. What, did he come back? This may be the explanation to the guy being dead, and the guy came back. He may know Adams, who talks to God. Mayor Adams talks to God. Did you know that? Mayor Adams talks to God. He did in 1993. 93, yeah. Because I remember it was here I was running for mayor. He was talking to God about being mayor, which I think is a little creepy, you know? Here I am working hard, running for mayor. I didn't know that God was talking to somebody else.
His uncle was eaten by cannibals.
His uncle was
in New Guinea.
What did he say?
But he just said it.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, but the military says, yeah, no, his plane was lost at sea. That's the official what really happened. That's literally what really happened.
When did Biden say that his son was
eaten by cannibals in New Guinea?
When did he say this?
I gotta get to find the video, but that's literally what he said. Yeah.
You're sure
I just read it in the Post. That's what he said.
Where? We're going to take a short break so that we can recover from this. I'm starting to get sick to my stomach. Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. Sean is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. We love Mike and we trust Mike, but this is so crazy. We got to hear it. Maybe the whole family's crazy, and they make these things up. You know that whole thing about his family were all coal miners. None of them were. Not a single one. Yes, I'm sorry. He had an uncle who was an accountant, and he poor. My backside, he was poor. I think his father lived in Garden. They took him to Garden. He bought some kind of major business there. Yeah. Greg Kelly was talking about it the other night. I don't remember, it was a bank. It was a bank or something. He got a car when he was a teenager. He got a new car every year. He got a new car every year when he was a teenager. He grew up in upper middle class. It's not wealth, luxury, and pretended to be hard knocks guy because he's a pathological, insane liar, which the press proclaimed in 1988, including some of the most liberal journalists. They had written him off. Johnny Carson, yeah. I mean, they've written him off as a whack job. They were right. And now we got him, and he's getting us killed, and other people. No joke. He's getting us killed. Did you get it? It's actually true.
He literally said that.
So now we got
yeah.
We got Bill Maher saying it's okay to kill people.
Yep.
It's okay. I don't have no problem with you killing people. And this guy says his uncle was eaten by cannibals and he wasn't.
Yeah, yes. And they looked into it, and the military said his plane was just shot down into the ocean, and his body was never recovered. Nothing about cannibals.
Well, the cannibals could have gotten them.
Right. Sure. Yeah. So we're gonna. And how does he know there was cannibals in New Guinea? Is it like, how does he know this? Where does this guy get this stuff?
Because because he spent a lot of time when he was left back in the 3rd grade studying New Guinea history.
Here we go. We got the video right here. Play that for him, Ted. Play this crazy guy.
He became an Army Air Corps before the Air Force came along. He flew those single-engine planes as reconnaissance over war zones. And he got shot down in New Guinea, and they never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals for real in that part of New Guinea.
Holy shit. Unreal.
You know, he sounds nuts saying it.
Definitely.
It sounds like he's half asleep.
How does nobody say anything to him?
Sounds like a lie, you know?
It sounds like even if it's true, there's something wrong with him, just the way he's talking.
He's a freak out, man.
I think if they put him like in a regular nursing home, they'd immediately upgrade him.
Yeah.
They'd upgrade him to let's watch him every minute unit. You're gonna lie every minute.
Study him.
Mr. Biden, did you eat? No. Mr. Biden, there's the food right in front of you. I didn't eat. But the plate's missing food. I didn't eat. I want more ice cream.
Let's get this straight. Joe Biden literally is telling us that his uncle crashed a plane into an area where there are cannibals and has never been heard from again. That's what he's claiming.
But apparently he crashed into the ocean.
That's what the military says.
Military, what do they know?
Right.
The Biden stratosphere would know. But look at the way, I mean, you know he's not telling the truth. You just look at him.
Story that comes out of his pulls it out. That's ridiculous.
Let's look at him again. The people in back of him look like they're in a state of shock too.
He became an Army Air Corps before the Air Force came along. He flew those single-engine planes as reconnaissance over war zones. He got shot down in New Guinea, and they never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals for real in that part of New Guinea.
Yeah. Is that when the kids used to play with the hair on your legs?
Yeah. Well, that's bizarre.
That's.
Are you serious? Is there anybody out there really seriously considering voting for him, no matter who runs against him? I mean, you know what it's gonna be like a year from now if he's like that now?
Cannibals. I'm just still. He made
so 4 years ago when he ran, he wasn't as bad as that, but he was still seeing Franklin Roosevelt on television reading the comics when Franklin Roosevelt was dead for 3 years before there was television. He was doing that 3 years ago, and he was still telling us that he liked the little kids playing with the hair on his legs. Yeah, and how about when he smells their hair? And they go like this. I don't know what he says to them, or it's just their instincts. It's like I watch all the reels about the dogs that are saved. The dogs have instincts like that. They go like this. You can see these little girls, but 2/3 of them go, stay away from me, creep.
Idiots stand there and act.
Well, some of the parents do, and some of them now keep the kids away. If it comes near my granddaughter Grace, who you all met last night, I'd probably go to jail. I'll go to jail.
One
of us will go to jail because if he starts smelling her hair, it's all over. I'll have to do it so I go to jail and not Andrew.
Yeah. Yes.
So I'm an old man, but I would get along with all the prisoners anyway. Man, you get to know them after a while. They all applauded for me.
I'll look after you in Rikers. Don't worry, Mayor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I don't know if the prisoners in Atlanta are like the ones in Rikers, but they all applauded for me, Mike.
The ones in Rikers are a little worse than Atlanta.
I think most of the people that came from New York, to tell you the truth, they seem to know me. They were calling me. I mean, I understand they know Trump, but I was there the day before Trump, so they didn't get the benefit of reading about, So I walk in and they're yelling. I mean, the guards didn't know what to do. They're yelling, Rudy, 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 and then I can't tell you what they're yelling about, Fanny.
Man, I'll tell you.
Before I knew about Fanny's other life, but they were telling me about it in their more graphic way.
God forbid you ever go to jail, which you won't. They'll put you directly in PC, and you'll never ever have to deal with those people. So, protective custody. You'll go. Yes, you will.
No, I don't want a Democratic jail.
No.
Stick me with the J6.
They put Weisselberger in PC. He's in Rikers right now. He's in protective custody.
Weisselberger's a Democrat.
Yeah, but he's Trump's guy, CFO.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
He's a poor
but they put him in protective custody. So
can I say something? If I go in with Trump, I won't be so bad.
I think you'll be all right. But you're not going to jail. You have nothing to worry about. Yeah. I'm just saying, if you ever, because of your status, you'll go right in protective custody and you won't have to worry about anything. But you're not going. So
maybe I'll have them design ourselves.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll give us a chance. Since he was a builder, they'll let us design ourselves.
Gold toilets.
How can he? I mean, he can't possibly. I mean, of course, it's gold toilet.
Gold sinks.
Don't they have that in prison?
So what do you think of this NPR editor resigning?
Oh boy!
My uncle was behind enemy lines in the Pacific for 3 years. My uncle Charlie.
Wow. 3 years.
I don't remember if he was missing a finger. I think it might have been New Guinea. He's dead now. Unfortunately, I can't ask him.
He's playing.
I can't ask him if did he know about this? What's guy Ambrose? What was his name? Was it Biden or was it?
What was his name? Angus?
His cousin?
No, his uncle.
Well, his uncle? I don't.
Ambrose Arnold, direct descendant of Benedict.
Biden uncle.
That's too funny.
Wait, Mayor, we didn't get to the professor from Columbia not denying from the river to the sea.
Can we play the professor from?
No, the president. I'm sorry, the president.
The president of Columbia.
Yeah.
We're playing this for any of you who have any thought of sending your kid to Columbia.
Yeah.
that when you got a president like this, you do not send your kid to this school.
Yeah.
So
My question to you are mobs. My question to you are mobs shouting from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, or long live the Infantata. Are those anti-Semitic comments?
When I hear those terms, I find them very upsetting. And I have heard...
That's a great answer to a question I didn't ask, so let me repeat the question. When mobs or people are shouting from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free, or long live the Infantata, are those anti-Semitic statements? Yes or no? It's not how you feel, it's...
I hear them as such. Some people don't. We have sent a clear message.
So is that yes?
We have sent a clear message to our community.
I'm not asking about the message. Yeah. Is that fall under definition of anti-Semitic behavior? Yes or no? Why is it so tough?
Because it's a difficult issue because
I realize it's a difficult
hear it
issue,
as anti-Semitic.
but here's
other
the
people
problem:
do not.
is when people can't answer a simple question and they have a definition, but then they can't. Well, I'm not really sure if that qualifies.
These Ivy League presidents, why do they have such a problem with anti-Semitism? Why? I mean, there are a lot of Jewish, I mean, it's 30, 40, 50 years ago, Jews couldn't go like, I don't know, it would be completely like Harvard Medical School. Probably 50 years ago, they took their first Jewish person. Whether it was all of Harvard, I don't know. I think so. I don't think if you were Jewish, you could go to Harvard. Now, also true of Italians, but some people don't know. I mean, for people who knew what Italians were, you couldn't go. Some people don't even know what Italians are. They're so stupid. So they let them in. Particularly if, they don't look like the way they prejudicially think of Italians. But Italians couldn't get in either, and Catholic, I mean, Irish need not apply. We went through that period of time. But that was more back in the 1850s, 1860s, 1870s. The Italian prejudice was more in the 1880s, 1890s, 1900, maybe up to 1920 or so. Still, but... When did it turn? I mean, so then the Ivy League schools, particularly Harvard and Yale, got over that prejudice. They had many distinguished Jewish graduates, Jewish presidents, I think, or deans of law schools. So what the heck has happened? How is it like, it's almost like a den of like there's more anti-Semitism there than there is in the rest of society, and I'm sure there's plenty in the rest of society, but it's like, and they can't seem to control it.
So,
and they also say the dumbest, stupidest things, like Israel controls Gaza. They haven't controlled Gaza for 20 years. It's like they've never been taught history.
To answer your question, Mayor, she's only been president since July 1st, 2023, so not even a year yet.
Okay, we got to give her a little leeway on that. But not on not being able to define, that means kill the Jews. That's what it means. That's why they say, it's like, what does it mean when Black Lives Matter constantly says, pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon? What does it mean? It means that's what they want for breakfast? Or does it mean kill cops, kill cops? And when your advisors are all people who killed cops that were let out by Democratic governors and presidents, then you know for sure that it's kill cops. And then all these jackasses give them money, which is why I don't want to make it worse for them, but I've cut out certain things. Yeah. I can't stand that. I just don't think you play around with killing police officers. There's no, let's say, negotiating with me about killing police officers. If it's first degree, dead, kill them. They'll stop them. Don't tell me the death penalty doesn't deter. Go to hell. What about kidnappings? I mean, kidnapping is a great example. We after the Lindbergh kidnapping, we did death penalty for a while. Of course, eventually our soft, liberal, criminal-loving society did away with it. But it was good enough to really cut down on kidnappings. And here we are, a country where you probably got more targets of kidnapping than any place. And when nothing like Mexico or places where they negotiate with kidnappers, because we follow the rule of not negotiating, with some exceptions. And I got to tell you, it's an area. I've worked several kidnappings with the FBI when I was assistant U.S. attorney and the PD together. They're good at that, or they used to be. I don't know what happened now. They spend their time going after parents who complain about school boards, but because those people are really those parents. Wow, you think communism was dangerous, or those parents? You realize that these parents actually think they should be informed if you take their children's genitals off when they're 14 years old? They should actually. These parents are so damn arrogant. They think they should be informed. They have no idea that we changed all that when we became communist. The state decides. The state. It's the state. That's what the guy who sold the Lincoln bedroom told us. The state decides these things. And Biden believes that. I mean, you look at the way he brought up his kids. Oh boy. I'm not even mentioning the diary. I'm just talking about all the pictures of Hunter and the fact that he encouraged him to work with all these criminals. You take a kid like Hunter, who had to have had an addictive personality very, very early, because the drug stuff goes back to very early. So now you put the kid in a sort of a bit of a protected environment, right? I'm talking about if you're marginally decent parent and decent human being, you say, this kid, I don't put a lot of pressure on. Let's go easy on him. So you don't have him go work for the biggest crook in Ukraine, who's suspected of murder, right? You don't have him become partners with Whitey Bulger's nephew. Not unless you want to destroy him. Or you're such a pathological, insane narcissist, you don't give a shit. And you want to be protected. And you figure your kid is going to protect you. I don't know. Can we play psychiatrist for a minute?
Yes.
You think he was dropping off all those computers on purpose?
Maybe. That's what I was upset.
He lost 3. We only got 1.
Where are the other 2?
One is in the hands of a Russian prostitute.
Oh.
Or a Russian operative.
Yeah.
Who was,
what they do. Yeah.
And the other one was in the hands of his psychiatrist, and it was picked up by the FBI when the psychiatrist got arrested. I mean, all the people around him get arrested too. I mean, the guy hangs out with the scum. Devin Archer going off to jail. This guy, Whitey Bulger's nephew. I mean, the Bidens keep the kind of company they should keep. Criminals like them. The Obamas who supply money to terrorists.
It's amazing.
What are you if you give money to a terrorist? You're a criminal, Prince Obama. You're a criminal when you give money to the Ayatollah Khamenei, who publicly makes it clear that he funds terrorists. And he gets you to give him cash. I'm sorry, babes. You're a criminal. I know. Everybody's going to cry because he's such a prince. I always thought you were an arrogant shit. And I always thought you hated the country. Got in trouble when I said you didn't love America. Think I've been proven right? Just like I was proven right on Russian collusion. You hate this country. You would not have given all that money to the Ayatollah if you didn't hate this country, since in those days, the Ayatollah was using that money to kill us. Us. The people you were sworn to protect. And if you couldn't figure that out, you're not the smart ass you claim to be. How the hell did you become head of the Harvard Law Review if you can't figure that out?
They've really been exposed. And having these presidents on Capitol Hill, Mayor, it really exposes them for not being impressive. I didn't expect to agree with their politics, but I expected to be a little bit more impressed with who these people were from like an intellectual standpoint. But it's crazy. Like these the
Which is
presidents.
worse, their lack of brains or the lack of a soul?
So obviously soul.
Yeah.
Soul is worse.
I think it started with Clinton.
Brain, some people can't help it.
I think the destruction of America, and I agree with Dr. Maria here, and lots of people think it started with Roe against Wade. And when I listen to the guy who likes killing, I realize we had this conversation a while back how it began the deterioration of the respect for human life, which is now at an all-time low here and elsewhere. Human life doesn't mean a damn thing anymore. When you can say that, it doesn't mean anything. We got too many people. I mean, where do they come off saying we have too many people? Maybe they're the too many people. Yeah. I mean,
and that's
it's like the guys who want everybody to pay taxes. Oh, you do it. You want to pay taxes? You can. Hey, you can write out a check for everything you got. Just send it to the government. The government will take it.
That's true.
And if you think we have too many people,
see yourself out.
I don't want you to commit suicide. I think it's a sin. But
take care of.
If you really believe it, it starts with you. I mean, there's at least one person you can get rid of.
Be a leader. Yeah, sure. Yeah, take yourself out.
I don't know. I mean, you look at Bill Maher. Some poor kid might have a better chance of becoming a better person than Bill Maher. Might not be that hard given that view. I mean, I really find that.
The audience was.
I'm actually surprised because even when I didn't agree with him as much, I never disrespected him. I can't believe he actually said that. I almost can't believe he actually said that.
Maybe he doesn't believe it. Maybe he'll.
What was just a wise ass comment?
Yeah, he has that show. He can at least try to excuse himself.
I understand
that show. You know?
I understand.
Comedian.
Yeah, that's what.
But he didn't tell it like a joke.
No, it's Hollywood. They did.
More than a joke. It was maybe a wise ass comment.
Yeah, because it's crazy, right? A boy, he's endorsing more murder. Yeah. Are you allowed to do that?
And he actually has a rationale for it. There's too many people.
Oh, that's scary, right? It's the quiet part of
it's the Nazi rationale.
It's what the so-called conspiracy theorists have been.
Too many Jews. There were just too many people in general, so that we could get down just to the Aryan race, whatever the hell that was.
People are called crazy.
The Aryan race were a bunch of ugly, short little jackasses with mustaches like this.
Maybe it's his race.
The master races, the little mustaches like this. The little jackass was the master race.
No, but we don't have too many people, right? We have
but
we have room for
Hitler was not an impressive. Hitler was not some kind of an impressive Aryan.
Oh God, no.
Hitler was ugly.
Yeah,
and actually, he was secretly gay. They say. That's what they say.
That's why they say everything.
Yeah.
They say he hated.
Mike doesn't like.
They say he hated gay people so much that he was actually probably secretly homosexual.
Probably. I mean,
yeah.
They say that about Hoover too, right?
Yeah, Hoover too. The mob had pictures of Hoover.
No, I don't.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's what they say.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Everybody's gay from in the old days because there's a group that dislikes you, and then they say you're gay.
I heard there's some pictures. Of Hoover. That's what I heard. That's all.
They got pictures of everybody.
Yeah, either gay or communist, right? If they're like,
they got pictures of everybody, and then they had his lover, right? The guy who used to stand in back of him all the time. What the heck was his name?
Who?
No, this is true. Hoover office. Hoover was a short guy, and Hoover's office was. It's now the office, believe it or not, of the Assistant Attorney General in charge of the Office of Civil Rights. It's a corner office in the Justice Department. I never saw it as Hoover's office. Clyde Tolson. So he had an elevated desk. In other words, his desk was on a platform. So when you came in, let's say this was the office, right? So I'd be up here like this, right? And you'd be down. There'd be a platform. Yeah, like a judge, and you'd have to look up at him. And Tolson would stand in back. He was a tall man, I think. Would stand in back of him, either recording everything, or I don't think he sat. I think he stood in back of him. And this is what it looked like. People would go in there, they'd be scared out of their minds because he was like I think he also affected this sort of scary thing. But the office had was somebody. I mean, the guy who was head of the Civil Rights division under Ford Stanley Poncher, showed me how he thought the office was arranged because it was his office at that point. You know, I had John Dean's office at one time.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. When I was Associate Deputy Attorney General. First thing I did was I checked it out for wires. Well, let's see what we got to cover that. Of course, NPR suspended Yuri Berlin, right? Oh, he resigned now, but they suspended him first because he told the truth about him. The present new CEO has a record of calling Trump a racist. And by the way, she viciously criticized Hillary because she used the words. So she is an equal opportunity wokester. She still uses the words man and woman.
Oof.
Did you know that was bad to do that? To say man and woman. What do you say, Ted? What's in place of man? Hairy creature.
Zim.
Cisgender.
See?
Zim and Z.
Wait. Zim?
Yeah.
Like Z-I-M?
Yeah. If you don't know, you can always say Zim.
So Zim means man.
It means no, it's a hybrid.
What's Z?
Like if you're leaning towards a she, but you're not sure, you say Z.
What if you are sure?
Well, if you are,
No, I mean,
you may think you're sure, but who are you to say? So I guess I need to take out the fact that you're
suppose it's my best.
Subjective reality doesn't.
I don't think this group is the right group.
All right, suppose it's your best friend.
He was my best friend. We grew up together. He's a man. I know he's a man.
Depends. Is he a cisgender male?
I don't even know what that means.
So if
that means it's he's not a cis.
Cisgender male.
Ted, you seem to know a lot about these pronouns.
No, I'm kidding around. This cis thing has been around for a long time. Cisgender.
Yeah, I know it's a thing.
But does cisgender just apply to males?
I think that's you. I think it's all of us in this room.
Me?
Yeah. I think you are.
I mean, like
gender male.
I don't
like macho or something.
I have to look this up.
No. Nobody's. You're not allowed to be. You get killed if you're.
Oh yeah. Take your toxic masculinity elsewhere, Rob.
Yeah. We don't want masculine.
Macho, we don't want.
If we don't have any toxic masculine macho guys, who the hell's going to fight the war for?
Cisgender, denoting or relating to a person whose gender identity corresponds with the sex registered for them at birth, not transgender.
So I go back. I got to check my birth certificate.
Yeah.
To find out.
So if it says male, you're male.
It means I'm a cisgender.
You're cisgender male.
What if it says female?
Then you're.
But suppose it was a mistake.
But what the hell does cis mean? Sounds like womany, doesn't it?
No, it just means that's what it means. Cisgender. That's what I just said.
Birth certificate. Do they have like they used to have M, W?
This is the short name for cisgender.
And then you get to go like that.
This is why I don't know.
But I guess you could do things like this, right? If you have an old-fashioned one, you could go like this. Put like a little question mark there like that. Right?
Yeah.
Or maybe you could get a little signature for to be determined.
TBD.
Yeah. To be decided. To be decided by the state.
So
the state will decide when we take you. Because we're getting all your children at 2.
We'll consult with you at 2 years old.
So 2 years old, we'll decide if you can keep that little thing.
May, you'll like this one since you like Latin. The prefix cis is Latin, and it means on this side of. That's what it means in Latin. On this side of.
On this side of what?
That's what it just means. On this side of.
The gender that
Of the gender you were born on, I guess. So that's what it means.
All this.
These people have
The communists? No, the communists did this.
That's what it means.
No, the communists have been behind this all of these things to deconstruct.
There's the reason we're talking.
It's what we're talking about is a deconstruction of our culture.
Yeah.
Which includes our religion, our morality,
Common sense.
our political beliefs, our music, our God forbid you should like classical music, right? Yeah.
So the term cisgender was, and I'm reading this off Wikipedia, people. I don't know this crap. All right. The term cisgender was coined in 1994 as an antonym to transgender. That's why they created the term cisgender.
So if you're the opposite of transgender.
You're cisgender if you're not transgender.
Well, good. I mean, I don't like the description cisgender, but I like what it connotes. I mean,
right.
I feel a little more comfortable now.
So if you're not trans, you're cis.
Chop me up or something involuntarily.
One or the other.
Yeah, you're one or the other. You're not trans
look-
or you're cis. That's it.
For now, you can oppose having your stuff removed, right? No, you can. For now, you can. That's going to change at some point because at some point the commissar will know better if you should be a male or a female, and it won't just be the people who have doubts. It'll be the people that should have doubts. Like they'll look at you and say, "You should have doubts. Therefore, we're chomping it off or we're changing it," or they'll have to do equity. Too many men. Because men are bad. If you had too many women, it'd be okay. But too many men. So take those 10, stick them in the operating. Well, they don't even use an operator. Put them in the chopping room. And give me the 100,000 I get from Medicaid for it. Right? You know, you get paid for this stuff. That's how a lot of these guys are making a lot of money on this stuff.
Gender reassignment's all about money. That's all it's about.
Everything's all about money.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying before.
Human rights, it's about money. That's all it is. Yeah.
You look at the Bidens, I mean, sure, they're communists, but it's really all about money. And for the communists, it's all about money.
Yeah.
The whole idea that communism is about everybody getting a all the communist big shots are multi-billionaires.
Yeah.
It's just like these speed cameras in the city. It's not about safety. It's about money. No one cares about your safety. They just want to make money.
Safety?
It's same thing.
Yeah.
Safety.
Yeah. It's about money.
If you got a wreck and you were hanging out of the windshield, they couldn't get through cracks.
Exactly. It's all they get there.
Garland is facing a potential contempt vote by House Republicans for refusing to hand over tapes of Biden's interviews with her on October 8th and 9th, 2023. He's really a spoil sport because those tapes would be funny as hell. Garland, yeah. So when are they going to put him in ankle bracelets and stick him in jail like Navarro? I mean, Navarro wasn't as important as this. We want to find out if our president knows when he was born. He doesn't know when his son died. He's off by years. And he doesn't know when he left the vice presidency. That's what Hearst is. He doesn't know when he left the vice presidency.
And he thinks his uncle was eaten by cannibals.
I don't know if that came up about the cannibals.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? And where guy's nuts.
He's out of his mind.
Yes, he might
I
still
actually read that when he was going on the train
somebody else's
over the bridge that never had a train.
And this is the guy who can nuke someone.
Swear
Can you
to
believe
God.
this? Yeah. This is not good.
I'm not worried about Trump.
I swear to God, I had a daydream that I was getting to cross-examine him. Because you know I'm dying to cross-examine him. I was a kid when I did my first great cross-examination. First time I ended up on the front page of the New York Times and I got a congressman to break down. So I figure I want to end that way. I'd love to get him to break it, but he'd be too easy. They'd write Giuliani was a bully and he bullied around this defenseless, incompetent old man who can destroy the world. But it still would be fun. I guess I'd have to call him President Biden, right? Even after he's out of office. I would have to do that out of respect, I guess.
Yeah.
The word president.
You gotta be respectful.
I do.
I mean, he would probably still call you Mayor Giuliani.
No, he wouldn't even know who I am.
Yeah,
He'd call me Mayor Giuliani. He'd look at me and say, "Hello, Mary." No, I'm cisgender, pal.
Cisgender Giuliani.
Cisgender, not, oh. So Mr. President, when you were going over the Francis Scott Key Bridge, named for that horrible slave owner, when you were going over that bridge on the train, I'd like to know because, look, I love great sights. Were you able to see when you look east? Could you actually see the ocean from there or the beach? Oh, I saw the beach. That's the beach where they were eating my. That's the beach where they were eating my uncle's toes. Oh, what? And so in the morning, right? In the morning when you were going over, did you go in the morning sometimes? Oh, In the morning, the sun rises in the east, doesn't it? Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, I know they teach you that in the third grade, and you were left back. But in any event, so did you get to see the sunrises? All the time, right from the train. Yeah, yeah. And then when you look the other way, coming home, like west, you probably saw the sun going down from the train, right, Mr. President? Now, explain to me exactly how you did this since the bridge has been up for 50 years or so. You never had a train? Did you have like your own train, like a little choo-choo train that you went in yourself? Or would you borrow the Senate train? You took the Senate train out of the Senate, like you stole the classified documents? Maybe that's how you stole the classified documents you gave to your son to give to China. Saturday Night Live could have a field day with this guy. Well, they became prostitutes with Obama. Yeah, so much to make fun of with Obama too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's racist, right? Racist. Oh, really? We're gonna build them up. No jokes about the.
Where's my teleprompter? Where's my teleprompter? Well, he used to use a teleprompter just to meet with the people. The brilliant one used to use teleprompter too. We'll close with the old Lyndon Johnson joke. Lyndon Johnson was also, I don't think Lyndon Johnson was dope. He was inarticulate. So they'd write out everything for him. In those days, I'm not sure. Well, they did have teleprompters because Kennedy used one, but he would have been, Johnson probably was a little stupid. He couldn't use a teleprompter. So he'd have they'd give him a text of everything. Like, when the Boy Scouts come in or the Little League of Maryland comes in, a President Kennedy or President Nixon or President Trump or Reagan or even Clinton, right? You do that. Or when I was mayor, you do that off the cuff, right? Maybe a couple of notes, but you don't know everything. Oh, it was wonderful. You won the championship. And there's Ralph, who was the pitcher. This is, for Lyndon Johnson, it was. It's very nice to greet everyone here today for the ceremony. Lyndon, you're on your own. That was a joke. Lyndon, you're on your own. That's what we should do to him. Imagine if the cards ran out, he'd panic. He'd probably panic. He'd probably have like an anxiety attack. Because now he's got him on his lap.
But you notice there's days where he's so bad, right? Any other day, like when Israel got it.
Sure.
When Iran attacked the other night, he couldn't come out and say anything because he was so out of it.
It's a one-man Biden show. From the time he was from the beginning when he was a trailer trash little crook. He's like this. It's nice to have the Prime Minister of Iraqi here. Iraqi. Oh, this is from Vice President Harris. Iran is a big country, and Iraq is next to it, and it's a small country. Small country. Yes, small country. And you're the. I can't quite read this. Could you help, Mr. Could you please help me read it?
Yeah.
That's Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Oh,
Of course, we're mimicking Biden right now. The press now will, of course.
I was going to say Giuliani 79 is going bonkers.
That's so funny. They did that with President Trump, right? He was mimicking Biden's inability to exit a stage, and then the media made fun of Trump for not being able to exit a stage.
Get him out. He's gotten so many. It's actually sacrilegious to make fun of him because he's gotten so many people killed. I mean, this is serious stuff. It really is. And I don't know. I guess the only way we can deal with it is some black humor. But well, we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow, I assume that the fascist judge in the democratic dictatorship of New York City will be sufficiently rested after his day off and ready to make prejudicial comments about the defendant to assure that he can convicts him. Things like, don't intimidate the jury by talking to a lawyer, stuff like that. He'll just make stuff up. His daughter will try to use as much of that to put it out in order for her to make her hundreds of thousands or millions, because that's what she does for a living. And the wife, I'm not exactly sure. I got to look up more about the wife, what the wife does, but she's also another Democrat. I mean, this whole house is like a hate Trump house. And the judge on the bench makes it clear that he hates him. He wouldn't want to go to his grandson's graduation. Did you see what that Daily Beast did? When we caught him on, the Daily Beast wanted to do a story when I said that that Judge Merchan is not in the Anglo-American tradition of judges, that I was being prejudiced because he's Colombian. So I had Ted respond to the reporter named Pilar Lorengar. You should remember this because she's really, really stupid. Pilar Lorengar was told that, number one, I always thought he was American. Just by the fact he was a judge, I figured, I should have known it's New York. You can be a non-citizen, you can be a criminal. Some of these judges act like they're criminals. So turns out he's not really Colombian. I mean, he was born in Colombia. He's an American citizen. And Colombia happens to be one of my favorite countries. So you can go stick it up. So they had to take it out. So then they said I jumped on the, what was it? I jumped on the
false narrative.
The false narrative that the judge wouldn't let him go. Well, the judge wouldn't.
The
judge wouldn't say yes. The judge doesn't say yes. Unless you'd like to get put in jail by this monster. Yeah. It's no. Remember, she seems to forget the fact that he's threatened Trump with, if you upset yourself, I'm going to put you in jail.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that reason enough for somebody that is in charge of justice in New York, like the chief judge of the court, to say, I'm sorry, squishy one, but you can't sit on this case. You've got so many conflicts, you're choking. You're actually choking. And you're choking us because you're making us look like a bunch of horses' asses. You're making this entire judiciary look crooked. His answer will be, well, we are. Yeah, you think you're going to find too many others that are better than him? They all got there the same way. They all got there with the Democrat boss. And I say that with a lot of meaning. The Democrat boss picked them. And he didn't pick them expecting that he couldn't get something back from them. And what he could get back from him is loyalty to the party. That's why that clerk is sitting on his lap. She's not a little clerk. She's an agent of the dictatorship, of the regime. She could make sure he's screwing Trump, because that's what the whole case is about, to screw Trump. Like, don't let him upset himself, because, gosh, he might campaign. Because they had to get Biden elected. Just like Fannie the hoe and Smith the hitman. We've got 3 prosecutors. None of them is worth anything. By the way, why isn't Bragg trying this case himself? You think Fannie's going to try the case herself? You think she's capable of it? You think Fannie the hoe has the capacity to actually try a case herself? Bragg doesn't. They couldn't try this case in a million years. Now, I know he was an assistant U.S. attorney. I don't know how he got the job. You know how he got the job. He can't try this case, though. And we made him DA, and he can't try this most important case. Tells you something, doesn't it? You want to know more? Come back tomorrow. Well, let's say a prayer for the people of Israel. We didn't talk enough about them tonight because they are getting royally screwed by the traitor Biden. let's say a prayer now for the people of the United States, because he's doing the same thing to us. And also, again, for the 2 police officers, their funeral is probably coming up in Syracuse. And also, today is the 500th anniversary of the entry of Giovanni Verrazzano into the Verrazzano Straits, who quite possibly is the one who really discovered the Hudson River, but they didn't want to give it an Italian name. That's what my father used to tell me. My father used to tell me that. They didn't want to call it the Verrazzano River. 500 years ago, yeah. For the French. He was sailing under the French flag, and he discovered the Straits, because the Straits take you into what could be the greatest harbor in the world. And the reason New York is that harbor, because little did they know, it goes all the way up to Canada, where the fur trade was. So how did Wall Street begin? They built a wall, so when the Indians and the French came down from Canada to trade fur, they couldn't get into New York. They couldn't get into the city proper because they didn't know who they were. So they built a wall, and they traded back and forth. So the Dutch would come out, because it was a Dutch city then, and they trade with the French, and they'd buy the furs, because that's what Canada had, was wealthy with furs. And then they'd send them back to Holland, and then eventually the English took over that trade. And it was called Wall Street because it had a wall. And then eventually it became, by the time of Hamilton, who lived, I think Hamilton actually lived on Wall Street for a while. Hamilton lived on Wall Street, absolutely, because he watched the inauguration of George Washington from his balcony. So Washington was inaugurated right across catty corner from the New York Stock Exchange on Wall Street, where the federal building is, right? You see what the statue is? Right behind that. And over here, catty corner, were apartment buildings. Hamilton had invited a group of Federalists, they were or Washington appointees to watch it from there, so they didn't have to be in the crowd.
Did Hamilton get into a battle?
Sure, in New Jersey. He died in New Jersey with Aaron Burr.
Look at a picture of this statue in Weehawken.
Aaron Burr. I went there a couple of years ago. We should cut it sometime. I have a documentary that I want to put together on. I've taken all the film already. Yeah. There's a statue there. There's a statue there. Beautiful statue. But it actually isn't where the gunfight took place. It took place like below it on what is now a ridge. And there were apartment buildings now, but you can see it's a fairly short walk from the river. So they both came across from New York, because gunfighting, that kind of dueling, was illegal in New York, but legal in New Jersey. Well, New Jersey was always crooked. And that's where I sent all the mafia people. Yeah, the ones I couldn't put in prison, I just sent them to New Jersey. That's where they could do The Sopranos. The Sopranos begins with the sign says to New Jersey. So when that first started, I said, I did that. I mean, if it weren't for me, it would say New York, but I sent them all to New Jersey. And then once they accused me of bringing down myself and Bratton, bringing down the crime rate by moving bodies over to the Meadowlands. There's this big thing that all these bodies are buried. When they put up either the first or the second Giant Stadium, they were sure they'd find the body of Jimmy Hoffa. I don't know why they think Jimmy Hoffa was in the Meadowlands, but, well, good night, Gracie. I'll tell you tomorrow where that comes from. God bless America. Is to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense. written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it.